today we'll be reading about the cell, right? Your second lesson. Clear? Now before going ahead, we should know the meaning of the word cell. Sometimes you confuse when you hear different meanings of the word cell. Some say cell is, in the language of physics, this cell is a dry cell that you use in your remote, right? Some say cell is the room where the prisoners are kept, right? Some in biology say cell is the structure, that makes the body, that makes the living body. Right? Some say, in physics, cell means the dry cell. In normal English, it is a small room where the prisoners are kept. In biology, cell is the structure that makes the living body. So you get confused whether this one is cell or this one is cell or this cell that the biology talks. You should not confuse. The word cell everywhere means a small compartment, right? A small compartment. Small compartment means a small place surrounded by walls or boundaries, right? A small place surrounded by wall or boundary. What happened actually? In the past, there was a naturalist named Robert Hooke. This Robert Hooke was very curious to study about the nature and living beings. He observed all living beings plants of various kinds as well as animals of various kinds. And observing them, he wanted to study about them, and when he wanted to study about them, the first question came into his mind: all these living things are made up of what substances? What is it that makes these living things? That was a question that came crossing his mind. So what he did, he thought to see through the living body. But when he wanted to see through the living bodies, by that time he developed a magnifying glass, the hand glass. You may have seen the doctors use this type of glass. With this glass, sometimes this is provided in your gym, the pencil boxes, geometry boxes also. With this, if you observe something through this, a small thing, say you are observing letter M, this letter M, if you observe through this, you will able to see this through eyes as big M, right? This M gets magnified like this. If you see through your eyes with the help of this magnifying glass. So by that time, Robert Hooke, he developed this hand lens or magnifying glass, and he observed the cock. Do you know what is cock? You may have visited the trees, and on the outer surface, or when you touch the tree is covered with dry brown, dark brown, or sometimes black colored hard substances known as bark. Right? These are known as bark. So Robert Hooke observed this bark using this magnifying glass, and what he noticed, when he observed, he noticed this type of hollow structures. This type of hollow structures, right? Can you see? This type of many hollow structures he found when he observed this. So he thought and just claimed to know that it's nothing, some hollow structures bound by a boundary or wall-like structure, they made the living body. See, this matches with the definition, with the meaning of this word cell. Cell is a small compartment, a small place, right, surrounded by walls, right? So from this place the word cell was coined for this type of structure, and later on, further few more scientists, they gave certain theory like aspects. They gave theory, we call it cell theory. Selden, Swan, Virchow, these were the scientists. They studied further about this cell, and they propounded, they gave to this world that all living beings are made up of cells, right? So all living beings, those days we were not having the sophisticated microscopes and other techniques that we have today, right? So those days people knew only about plants and animals around them, not like the days we can read about the microscopic world also. Is that clear? So now do you follow where from we got the word cell? And this cell, meaning of the word cell is same everywhere, a small compartment, right? Like a booth, right? So you may have seen police cell, a small, at your city also you may have seen, right? At Pakki you have the police cell or police booth. At Company Bagh you have a small room is made for the police to sit, right? Similarly, this type of many rooms, many compartments, they made the cell. But you see, later on when you study about the cell, you will find that inside this nothing was visible to Robert Hooke. Only these walls were visible. The reason was this outer bark of the plant or the tree was a dead cell. And in a dead cell, all this material inside this, they are not present, and only the deposition of sugar or starch that made the cell wall were visible in this study, right? So this is how the word cell came into existence, and this cell is known as, this cell is later on surely or like a theory told that all living beings are made up of cells. So for the cell, one thing you can say, cell, what is cell? cell is the adjectively we can say cell is the structural and functional unit of life or living beings. So structural means whatever structures you see, they are made up of cell, and whatever functions you see that are carried out or exhibited by a living being, they are also taking place at the level of the cell. That's why we say the unit, unit is the smallest amount that is repeated to get a bigger mass or bigger amount. So as in mathematics, you see this 10, when you say this 10 represents what? 1 is used how many times? 10 times. So here unit of 10 is 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what this type, this is the unit that is used how many times? 10 times to make this 10. Do you understand? Similarly, your hand is made up of cell, your leg is made up of cell, the leaf is made up of cell, the branch is made up of cell, the stem is made up of cell. So structure, any structure that you see, and similarly the function that you see, your respiration takes place in the cell, excretion takes place in the cell, reproduction takes place in the cell. So all activities, digestion takes place in the cell. Whatever processes or activity you see, that takes place in the or at the level of the cell. That's why for cell, this statement is always true, that cell is the structural and functional unit of life. But once you are asked what is cell, this is just to give an idea about the cell. But actually what is cell in biology? So cell, when studied later on, when cell is studied, then this cell is a very organized structure. Very organized structure means this cell is not simply the wall surrounding a small space, small place. No, the cell is a very complicated and organized structure. In the next video, we'll be talking about the structure of a cell, how this cell looks, what all things make a cell, right? Thank you.